We're interested in something we call the joy of sex factor. That means loving, playful, mutual enjoyment. In our questionnaire, you'll be shown 6 pictures. You have to rate each of the pictures from 1 to 6 in terms of the joy of sex factor. If you think the picture is very loving and lots of fun, you give it a rating of 1. If you think it has a low joy of sex factor, you give it a rating of 6. Based on the joy of sex factor, we've made our choice for the rating. But the question is, do you agree with us? Let's see. How do you rate the pictures, from 1 as highest to 6 as lowest?
When you discard your clothes to make love, there are several other things you should discard as well. Your inhibitions, any sense of embarrassment, and some of those adult constraints on imagination and action that we employ the rest of our lives. It cannot be said too often that sex is the most important form of adult play. In our lovemaking, we can act out our fantasies, star in our own dramas. We can pretend to be other people, seductresses or virgins, sultans or slaves, or we can simply be ourselves, more so here perhaps than in any other arena. It can be very worrying to start labeling certain sexual tastes and practices as normal or abnormal. Any attempt to define sexual norms should be as broad as possible, taking into account the fact that people differ significantly, both in what they need and in their capacities. Too often in the past, self-appointed arbiters have condemned anything they didn't personally enjoy. This is not helpful. Any sexual behavior is normal if it gives you both pleasure and if it harms nobody, either physically or mentally. Basically, we don't have a single normal pattern of sexual behavior, but a bunch of responses like fingers of a hand. Couples who have good, unanxious sex use all 5 fingers of each hand. Most men experience premature ejaculation at some point in their lives. Often the problem goes away of its own accord, causing no more than a little passing frustration and disappointment. Sometimes it persists, and when it does, the anxieties and tensions it produces can feed upon themselves until it becomes a habit. If this happens, it can cause real concern and conflict in a loving relationship. And since the causes of premature ejaculation are often physical, a lack of voluntary control over the reflex of ejaculation, the difficulty can be fairly easy to remedy. No one wants to make love all the time. We may be tired or preoccupied or simply not in the mood. Sometimes we want closeness and cuddles without going on to intercourse. Sometimes we simply want to be alone. None of this makes us unresponsive, but there is such a thing as real unresponsiveness. In women, it's the inability to enjoy sex, even when all the conditions are right. In men, it's the failure to get and sustain an erection. It can happen for no apparent reason, then vanish just as mysteriously. Or the causes may be obvious: illness, stress, alcohol, bereavement. If the causes aren't clear, and if it persists, there are ways we can restore ourselves to full, confident, and joyful sexuality. Some of these include, for women, sexual self-discovery and masturbation. For men, sensitive and undemanding loving. The secret of good sex, the very best sex, isn't athleticism or mastering different techniques or positions. It's communication. For men, being a good lover is not about an excess of phallic maleness, machismo, as it's called. Quite the reverse. It's about understanding and sharing. Certain supposedly feminine responses, skin sensitivity, for instance, and knowing how to use them in lovemaking. For women, the same holds true. To please her partner, a woman should share some of his physical male-type turn-ons. She should be excited by the sight of her partner naked, for example, or by sexy clothes. Often women might benefit from being a little more direct, and men from being a little more subtle. In a culture that glorifies youth, many people, both young and old, are firmly convinced that no one over the age of 50 makes love. In fact, human sexual function and need can last as long as life. And as we get older, what we may lose in stamina, we make up for in experience. Men may need a more direct penile stimulation to reach erection, and they may take a little longer to come, which may sometimes seem an advantage. For women, the loss of fertility that comes with the menopause may come as a welcome release, freeing them from worries about pregnancy and contraception. As with so many other aspects of sex, what you feel and think can be all important here. If you feel sensual and responsive, and if you have a receptive partner whom you find attractive, then you can go on enjoying good, satisfying sex throughout your life.
Rear entry positions, which many men and women find very exciting, can be as versatile as frontal postures. They work wonderfully standing, lying, kneeling, or with the woman astride. The lack of face-to-faceness is more than compensated for by the extra depth, buttock stimulation, hand access to breasts, pubis, and clitoris, the possibility of gripping your partner's wrists if she likes to be controlled, and, of course, the sight of a pretty rear view. While the deep kneeling posture can be one of the most boisterous, from behind on your sides is about the gentlest. The French call it à la paresseuse, the lazy position. You can make love in this position even when you're both half asleep. It works best if she draws her top thigh up a little and sticks out her bottom. This is also the one position which can often work with little or no erection. It's worth trying the full range of rear postures because at least one will almost certainly enter your everyday repertoire. In coitus à la Florentine, your partner uses her finger and thumb to forcibly hold back your foreskin, or if you haven't got one, your penile skin, at the root of the penis, keeping it stretched all the time, both in and out. This is an excellent way to speed up ejaculation, and if your partner gets the tension just right, it can greatly boost the intensity of your sensation. For a whole host of reasons, anatomical and symbolic, rear entry positions can be very exciting for the man, and often for the woman too. A few women are put off by the symbolism, doing it like animals, not being valued if it's not face to face. But the physical payoff is so great that these misgivings are usually soon forgotten. If you have got doubts, try it first with your partner lying on his back, with you lying face up on top of him, or kneeling astride facing away. Some men at the point of orgasm are apt to growl like bears or utter aggressive monosyllables like in. It's important to know how to interpret these sounds, both his and yours. In particular, to know when stop means stop, and when it means for God's sake go on. This is an individual language, and you need to be a sensitive observer to learn its meaning. It's possible to have two kinds of intercourse at once, one in reality, the other in your head. Try having straight, gentle coitus while you and your partner take it in turns to describe some other, wilder proceeding, possibly in pure fantasy. The fantasy can be as tender, as wild, or as violent as you like. Lovers who really know about such things won't be frightened or take advantage. If you do find this double nakedness disturbing, set rules. Practicable or happy fantasies only.
For standing rear entry positions, your partner will need to hold on to something of the right height for support. In the head-down kneeling positions, you must be careful not to push your face down into the mattress. And in all of the deep variants, don't go in too hard, and not at all if she finds it uncomfortable or even painful, if she has a weak back or if she's pregnant. Your partner may like a finger, hers or yours, on her clitoris during intercourse. This is easy in most rear positions. Alternatively, you can withdraw briefly and give a few clitoral strokes with the glands, guiding it with your hand. Rear entry on your side, à la paresseuse, can often be accomplished when the penis is slightly soft. For this reason, it can help cure partial impotence or nervousness in the man by restoring morale. It's also good if you need gentle sex for health reasons or if you're slightly disabled. There's a striking consistency over ages and continents in what women say in orgasm. Some of the sounds are universal, as gasp when a touch registers right, a shuddering out of breath when you follow through. Some women and men are very loud. Others are silent. The important point is, in mutual let-go intercourse, make as much or as little noise as you like. What your partner says in orgasm should only be played back when you're both in a suitable mood. And only then.
The woman on top riding postures, known collectively as upper hands, are unique for the woman, giving her total freedom to control movement, depth, and her partner. With her partner inside her, she can lean forward for breast or mouth kisses, or backwards to show herself to him. She can touch her own clitoris as she moves, delay if she wishes, the lot. She can ride facing, or with her back to her partner, or turn from one to the other, once or often. She can kneel astride, or sit cross-legged on top, making movements in 3 dimensions with her hips. She can also lie on him, in the reverse matrimonial, with her legs astride or between. Some couples like to start their lovemaking side by side, or with the woman underneath. If you prefer this, you could start coitus in another position, then switch to one of the upper hands postures, perhaps as the second in a series. The croupade, in which the woman is taken from behind, gives greater control to the man. But in some, the woman plays her part too. In the kneeling posture, à la négresse, she hooks her legs over his, using them to pull him to her. And in some rear standing positions, she can influence the pace and speed of her own orgasm by stimulating her clitoris with her hand.
The upper hands postures, where the woman rides the man, give her greater control, but with a considerable payoff for him, too. With a woman who has good muscle control, the upper hands positions can be fantastic. Pompoir, closing and constricting the vaginal muscles until they grip the penis, can provide the most intense sensations. Some women can do this so well that they can bring their partner to orgasm without moving any other part of their body. A woman can learn this gift in the same way someone can learn to waggle their ears, through practice and by concentrating hard on the relevant muscles, preferably with her partner in situ, so he can tell her when she's succeeding. In the rear position, à la négresse, control is shared. She kneels, hands clasped behind her head, breasts and face on the bed. He kneels behind. She hooks her legs over his and pulls him to her with them. He puts a hand on each of her shoulder blades and presses down. In the croupade, he takes her squarely from behind, controlling the pace of orgasm with his hands and the movement of his hips. In the quissade, the half-rear entry positions, she turns her back to him, and he enters with one of her legs between his and the other partly drawn up. In some versions, she lies half-turned on her side, still facing away.
If the matrimonial is the king of postures, the queen is her turn on top, riding St. George or upper hands, in which the man lies on his back and the woman rides him, facing backwards, squatting, sitting, or whatever. These postures feature in Indian eretology, an ancient tradition which seems devoid of patriarchal hang-ups about the need for the woman to be underneath, and unashamed about accepting her full aggressive role in reciprocal sex. All riding postures need a stiff erection, or the woman may bend her partner painfully with an over-hurried insertion. In fact, this is about the only kind of intercourse in which one or both of you could be injured by clumsiness or by slipping. So test yourselves gradually. It can be particularly effective on waking, when the man is fresh, with a hard erection. The round and round motions of the woman's hips, which the French call the lion's mail coach, la diligence de lion, come easily with practice. The Chinese name for the woman on top and facing away is wild geese flying on their backs, a delightful name for a delightful posture. The deep kneeling positions, the croupade, in which he takes her squarely from behind, are excellent for both partners.
Swings can provide intense erotic sensations. Their falling swoop produces pressure in the pelvis like nothing else. Swinging with a well-implanted partner is something every woman should try at least once. He sits on the seat and works the swing. You face him, sitting astride. Start penetrated and use the movement of the swing to drive your coitus. The rocking chair is an indoor equivalent, though it feels rather different, more like making love on a swaying train. Bathing together can be wonderfully sexy. Try soaping one another all over or drying each other afterwards. And a post-coital bath together is a relaxing return to domesticity or work. Sex in deeper water is like weightlessness or flying. Swimming pools have extras like steps and handholds, but the chlorine may be an irritant. Perhaps the best place is a warm sea. If you can get a beach to yourselves, you can have excellent intercourse lying in the surf. And sand dunes are one of the best venues for alfresco sex. But beware, sex in public is illegal. Quickie sex provides a way of breaking out of the rituals that can come to surround lovemaking. Many women who usually need time to become aroused can be turned on quickly by the passion, the unfamiliarity of positions or locations, and the feeling of daring and danger that can go with this. The quickie works best if the impulse is mutual, when half the fun comes from the preliminary, often unspoken communication. So if the fancy takes you, don't resist.
Sex on swings or in rocking chairs can be arousing for both of you. She gets the pleasure of an intense erotic sensation. You get the delight of sharing this, along with the turn-on of trying out new and different positions. For the best results in a rocking chair, put the chair on a hard, rough floor. The most obvious position is for her to sit astride, facing you, though other postures are possible. Bathing together can be more than just good, clean fun. Intercourse in a domestic bath has a novelty value, but it can be awkward, though there are other things you can try. Sex in a swimming pool or the sea is something else. Suddenly your partner is light as a feather, and you can manage all those acrobatic positions that take too much strength and stamina on dry land. Some couples find that outdoor sex in general is a powerful turn-on, both the pleasure of unfamiliar locations and the element of danger. This cannot be recommended. If you're caught, not only can you be fined, but you may never speak to each other again. Though it must be said that love, well and mutually completed under unlikely circumstances, can get a laugh out of pure joy. Quickie sex is like inspiration. It can strike any time and almost anywhere, from bed in the middle of the night to halfway upstairs. Many women who normally take time to become aroused find the urgency an almost instant turn-on. Try not to resist the impulse if it's at all possible, and with quickness, wit, and skill, it usually is. You must be skillful in handling sitting, standing, and other postures, and making love without undressing.
High-velocity, playground-type swings are a real woman's turn-on. Many little girls have their first orgasm on a swing, and there's no reason why we shouldn't go on having them. You can swing with your partner inside you, or, if you want to go it alone, you can try Chinese bells, known as rinotama. Rocking chairs are worth trying too, though they lack the sudden belly-dropping sensation that comes from swings. Bathing together is a natural accompaniment to sex, as well as an arousing overture or a relaxing tailpiece. Ordinary domestic baths are a little cramped for coitus, though it's fun in the shower, and looking down while you're doing it can add to the turn-on. If you can get round the problem of privacy, sex in the sea or a swimming pool can be wonderful. Outdoor sex is a pleasure beset by problems, principally the fact that if you're caught in a public place, you could get into serious trouble. One of the best venues is sand dunes, which give shelter, keep the heat, and don't harbor insects. Lawn grass is fine if well screened. Short, sharp sex has a charm of its own, but it needs a rate of mutual response learned only in longer sessions. In other words, you can't fully appreciate the quickie without mastering the art of taking your time. But once you've got it, the thrill of spontaneous, unscheduled sex, on a chair, against a tree, in a bathroom, or wherever, is a real turn-on, not only at the time, but also recalling it afterwards. A few decades ago, oral sex was a prime pretext for divorce, on grounds of perversity. We've come a long way since then. Now, personal preferences apart, most women know that both giving and receiving genital kisses is one of the best things in sexual intimacy. Many women like, and some of us need, genital kisses before intercourse, either as a way of getting aroused or as a source of preliminary orgasms. It can be a pleasure the other way round, too. It's always arousing to do something that drives your partner absolutely wild, and oral sex usually does that. Some women love the taste of semen. It's been described as producing a warmth similar to spices. If you don't, or if the idea of swallowing it turns you off, you can stop before he comes and switch to another place, between your breasts, for example, or in your hand. You have to be alert and quick about this, or you're liable to catch him too late. For some women, the simultaneous 69 type of kissing represents the ultimate in both sensation and intimacy. It can be either long or short, the short just in passing, the long taking as long as you like. As a way of reaching climax, though, 69 has its drawbacks. Unless you're very controlled, and most of us aren't, impending orgasm isn't compatible with careful technique. Your partner might even get bitten. So it's usually better to take turns. These days, fewer and fewer women are inhibited about oral sex. In fact, some find it hard to reach orgasm at all without prolonged genital kissing. If either you or your partner feels shy about this, try it in the dark. But certainly try it. There are many ways you can do this for your partner. For instance, sit beside her as she lies face up on the bed. First, kiss her all over. Then, perhaps raising her knees, kiss her gently and repeatedly on the closed labia until she's open. Then proceed to deeper tongue strokes with special emphasis on the clitoris. Another method, where the woman is more active, is for her to kneel astride and kiss you with her vagina, just as she would in a passionate mouth-to-mouth kiss, brushing lightly first, then open and deeply, while you use long tongue strokes from her vagina to her clitoris. If you try oral sex before intercourse, it's possible to give her several preliminary orgasms, as many as she can take. A few women don't like the idea of fellatio at all. Others prefer their lover not to go all the way and ejaculate, and some find the experience incomplete if he doesn't. If you're not sure what your partner feels, ask. If she gags, remember this is a reflex that happens if something large is poked down your throat. So it may not be because she hates it, but because you're going in too hard or too deep, and she can't help herself. Whatever she feels, be considerate.
Oral sex is a wonderful way of expressing love, trust, and desire. You can do it for her, she can do it for you, or you both can do it simultaneously for each other. If your partner is uncertain or nervous about you kissing her genitals, you should lead her in gently, first kissing her all over, then letting her lie back while you kiss her closed labia, opening her slowly with your tongue. Or you can let her take control, setting the pace and speed of her own orgasm by kneeling astride you and giving you full, deep kisses on your lips with her genitals, while you get to work with your tongue. It works the other way round, too. She can control the rate and intensity of your arousal by kneeling in front of you, taking you into her mouth, and using her tongue and lips on your penis. Many men are driven wild simply by watching this. Or if you want a more active position and a faster orgasm, she can lie back while you have oral coitus as fully and deeply as she can stand it. But you must keep a little control to avoid hurting her or being involuntarily bitten. 69 is fine, but it does have drawbacks. You need attention and care to give your partner your best, so neither of you can really let yourselves go. Another slight problem is that the woman is the wrong way round for tongue work on the most sensitive surface of the glands. The woman on top position is good, especially if she combines mouth with handwork. For some men, everything about fellatio is a major turn-on. Not only the look and feel of it, but the emotions that go with it. The other way round, normal genital odor is an important part of oral sex for many men, so you should wash often, but not immediately beforehand. Intimate deodorants and vaginal douches ruin your natural perfume. Who gives the first kiss is a matter of preference, but whereas it's possible for a woman to have several orgasms from mouthwork and still want more, some men can't even take the shortest genital kiss without ejaculating. If your partner is sensitive, you should save it until he needs a new erection, when it's a uniquely effective way of raising the dead. You can use several of many techniques. There's what the Chinese call the jade flute position, an instrument which is obviously played like a recorder. Kneel facing your partner and take his penis with your thumbs underneath, fingers on top. How you use your mouth depends on your man. Not all men find tongue and lip contact with their glands pleasurable. For some, it's ecstasy, while others prefer foreskin movement over the covered glands with the shaft held tight. Another position which can be used for mutual genital kissing is head to tail on your sides, each with your upper thigh drawn up as a cushion for your partner's head. Find out between you what works best on a basis of learn and teach. Good mouthwork is well worth practicing. The spontaneous genital kiss is one of the most moving gestures in the whole sexual experience.
Men can be a lot less subtle about sex than we can, a lot more hasty and abrupt. It's not that they want to get it over with quickly, though sometimes it might seem like that. No, they may want to be tender and loving. They may want to please us, but they're often too focused on the act of intercourse itself. Some men seem to think that anything that doesn't involve at least one set of genitals isn't really sex at all. So, if he is inclined to be careless and impulsive, it's up to you to slow him down, to tell him and show him what you want, to introduce him to the delights of foreplay, which is certainly play, but needn't come before anything. You may want to take it on to intercourse, or you may not. Most men, if they're at all sensitive, respond rather well to this kind of instruction. On the other hand, a lot of men are more turned on than we are by such extras as nudity and semi-nudity, erotic books or videos. Our reaction is generally less programmed and so more flexible and open. Just because he likes looking at pictures of other women, it doesn't mean he thinks any less of you. even if you're not particularly excited by these things yourself. If you can share them, you're likely to find his response very stimulating. If your man is very passive or unimaginative or inhibited, if you long to do things but feel unable to tell him, you may end up thoroughly frustrated. If this is the case, you must take the initiative. Here again, a little instruction should work wonders. Women have direct physical responses just as you do, but they're not the same as yours, and they can't be short-circuited. Sex play, stroking, kissing, caressing, may seem like an optional extra for you, but for us, it's vital. It forms an important part of what sex is all about. So you may want to rush on to penetration and orgasm, but if you do, you're likely to leave your partner behind. And if that happens too often, she'll end up feeling dissatisfied and resentful. So take it slow and easy. Enjoy. Breasts and skin first, please, not a direct grab at the clitoris. It isn't true that things like nudity and erotica don't excite us. Some of us can be aroused by these just as much as you can. The difference here is that our responses are less automatic, less conditioned. Different women will be aroused by different things. The things a woman may find arousing may change with the situation. So we're less predictable than you are, and thus we can be more open. For us, an erection isn't a weapon, or even a tool as it can be for you. It's more of a shared possession. It's not the size that excites us, but the personality, the unpredictable movements and moods. There'll be times when we're happy to let you do everything, others when we need to be in control. Some of us might go for dangerous sex in our fantasies, but in real life, the turn-on is strength, skill, control, not bruises. And we all like our man to know when to be gentle.
We probably all sometimes wish that our partner's sexual responses were, well, more like ours, more direct and uncomplicated. We can be turned on by the sight of our partner undressing or taking a shower, or, let's be honest here, by a picture of a woman in a magazine. Sometimes we're happy just to enjoy the turn-on. At other times we might want to make love there and then without any fuss. But we know from experience that women need longer than we do to get aroused. You should talk about this to your partner. Explain to her that what you would like, what most men want, certainly isn't a partner who's passive and compliant, but active and skillful, and lustful too. It helps if she's excited by the sight of a penis, for example, or a man undressing, or by physical play. You want her to desire you the way you desire her, with at least at times the same urgency. And you want her to know how to express that desire positively and actively. If you explain this to her, you might be delightfully surprised at the result. But the reverse of this can also be true. If you're a sensitive lover, you may have wished at times that your responses were more like your partner's. When you've watched her react to your kisses and caresses, when you've seen how she can get sexual pleasure from her breasts or from her entire skin surface, you may have wished your own sexual responses were less brusque, less focused on your penis. So talk to her about this too. Get her to teach you. It's quite possible for you to learn this sort of sensitivity, and the lessons could be fun for both of you. Male sexual response is far brisker and more automatic than yours. It's triggered more easily and by fairly predictable stimuli, as I'm sure you've noticed. In that way, I suppose we do treat you as sex objects, but that isn't incompatible with regarding you as people too, and with loving you. Your clothes, your breasts, your odor, we don't love these things instead of you. They're simply what we need in order to set sex in motion to express our love. Sometimes, not unreasonably, you find this a little hard to accept. But if you go about it in the right way, it's quite possible for you to teach us sensitivity in sex. We know that ultimately, sex is only good for us when you're satisfied too. Unlike you, we have to be aroused to erection in order to function. We can't let ourselves be passively taken. If we don't feel like intercourse, then we can't do it to please you. This matters to us a lot at a biological and a personal level. It explains why we tend to start with genital play when you'd probably rather take time to get in the mood. Genital play is how we get into the mood. In lovemaking, one of the most valuable things you can do for us is to understand these reactions and learn how to deal with them by being brazen and bold, even sometimes outrageous. This has been called the divine gift of lechery. So perhaps more than anything, we'd like you to take the initiative at times, not only responding to what we want, but leading the way, suggesting when, where, and how we make love.
The female genital area is sensitive in all its parts, from the perineum, between your vagina and anus, to the mons pubis, or mound of Venus, the pad of fat over your pubic bone. Be sure your lover knows this. Many men are oversold on clitoral stimulation, so are unaware of the intense erotic sensations we can feel through other parts of our vulva. They head straight for the clitoris, and few of us like too much clitoral stimulation early on in lovemaking. All vaginas are the same, and all are unique. The size of the labia and the tightness of the opening make little or no difference to lovemaking, nor is any vagina too large. Genital anatomy may decide which postures work best for a couple, but no more than that. Men and women are universally adapted. Make sure your lover explores your vagina in detail, with his fingers, eyes, and tongue. Men often don't understand about breasts. They're in too much of a hurry to get lower down. Your breasts will be far more sensitive than his, and you should let him know this. You may not get an orgasm from having your nipples stimulated, but you'll have a lot of pleasure trying. Cassolette, French for perfume box, is the natural odor of a clean woman, a great sexual asset. It comes from the whole of you, hair, skin, breasts, armpits, genitals, and the clothing you've worn. Because it's so important, you should guard your personal perfume as carefully as your looks, and learn to use it in lovemaking as skillfully as you use your body. Far more likes and dislikes are based on smell than our deodorant and aftershave culture admits. Perhaps because the clitoris is structured like a penis in miniature, it's got a shaft and a glans. It becomes erect when we're excited. Perhaps because of that, you phallic-minded males are inclined to make a reassuring rush for the clitoris at the start of lovemaking. Please don't. The female genitals are sensitive in all their parts, from the mons pubis to the perineum, the area at the back between the vagina and the anus, not to mention the anus itself. The clitoris is certainly the most responsive part. It's probably by stimulating it that you'll eventually bring your partner to orgasm. But the whole of the genital area is well worth exploring, with your fingers, your eyes, and your tongue. You could try giving your partner a genital kiss. Start with her lips covered. Brush the closed lips, then open her. Just as you shouldn't go straight for clitoral stimulation, so don't be too hasty about penetration either. Although the vagina is always slightly moist, it takes a little time, as well as excitement and stimulation, for a woman to become fully aroused, for the labia to swell, the clitoris to rise, and most importantly for our comfort during intercourse, for the walls of the vagina to lubricate themselves, to let you enter easily and smoothly. Your partner's breasts will also repay your time and attention. Not a casual nuzzle or a passing squeeze on your way downwards to other things, but real, loving attention, stimulating the nipple with the tip of your tongue, caressing and stroking, gentle sucking, perhaps even biting. It's unlikely your partner will get an orgasm from this, but it's exceedingly likely she will enjoy trying.
If you ever watch your partner masturbate, you'll soon become aware that whereas for us the most intense sexual feelings are concentrated in the last inch or so of the penis, in a woman the entire genital area is highly sensitive. And although she may finally reach orgasm through clitoral stimulation, there are a lot of other very pleasurable things to do before getting to that. So when you're making love, a direct grab at the clitoris definitely isn't the way to start. The mons pubis, the decorative fat pad under the pubic triangle, is highly responsive. If you want to test this, try holding it gently in your cupped hand, kneading or shaking it, either before, without, or as well as putting your finger into her vagina. You can either grasp her mons, it fits in the palm, or rest the heel of your hand on it while using your fingers on the labia. Or you can cup the whole area, mons and closed labia, in your palm and fingers. Try seeing how much sensation you can produce with your partner lying completely closed. Breasts are a natural second target, though they're often the first one we reach, which is something she's likely to be pleased about, as they too can be intensely erotic. Just how sensitive they are varies enormously, so it's important to find out what she likes, gentle handling or slightly rougher treatment. You can try going round and round the nipple with your tongue tip or the glands of your penis, soft kneading with both hands, gentle biting, or sucking like a baby. For some women at least, stimulating her breasts, vagina, and clitoris all at once produces the fastest and most concentrated buildup of sensation once intercourse has begun.
Many women who enjoy sex are fascinated by their lover's penis, just as men are by women's breasts. They learn to play with their partner's penis fully and skillfully, getting and giving pleasure from taking it out, stiffening and handling it, making it pulsate and ejaculate. They may be intrigued by the color and texture of his penis, by how it responds and becomes erect, and as much as anything, by the way it sometimes appears to have a will of its own, so that they can find themselves treating it almost like a third party. Some men are preoccupied with the size of their penis, believing it's too small. This is irrational, as size has nothing to do with how efficient it is in intercourse, or with a man's ability to satisfy his partner. Nor, except in very rare cases, is a penis ever too big for a woman. Your vagina can take a full-term baby. A man who worries he's too small, or a woman who says her partner's too big, are both making statements about other sexual anxieties. They need reassurance and a different attitude to sex, not gadgets or exercises. Don't bend an erect penis, or use it in a position where it could get violently bent by accident. This can happen if you're on top, and you get careless near orgasm, or if you're putting him in if he's not quite fully stiff. Keep a little control here.
Penises come in all sizes. Larger ones may be spectacular, but they're no more effective in intercourse than smaller ones, since your size has nothing to do with your ability to satisfy your partner. Nor has flaccid size anything to do with erect size. A penis which is large when at rest simply enlarges less with erection. So excessive preoccupation with size is an irrational anxiety. You can't increase the size of your penis any more than you can increase your height, so don't even think about it. Shape also varies. Basically, the glands can be blunt or conical. This matters only in that the conical shape can make teat-ended condoms uncomfortable. As to circumcision and uncircumcision, its significance is religious rather than sexual. If you have anxious preoccupations, get rid of them. If you aren't circumcised, you need to retract the foreskin for cleaning purposes, and if it won't retract fully, get it seen to. This is a trifling operation with a blunt probe and doesn't necessarily mean you need circumcising. If the foreskin is over tight and gets stuck, get that seen to, too. These are the only things that are commonly wrong with the penis. Slight asymmetry often develops with time. This does no harm. In any good sexual relationship, the penis is something both partners share. When it's limp, it's yours. When it's erect, it belongs to both of you. Many men, who may not be self-regarding in other ways, are fascinated by their own penis, by its texture, the way it becomes erect, and by its apparent autonomy, which can be rather alarming at times. If their partner can share this and appreciate the penis as both aesthetic and functional, then they're likely to be pleased by that, and it helps them to feel good about themselves. There's a whole area of sex play connected with this, with uncovering the penis, handling it, making it stiffen, pulsate, and finally ejaculate. This is a major part of togetherness and can be equally important for both partners. Preoccupation with penis size from either partner is less useful since size has nothing to do with performance. Larger penises are no more effective than smaller ones, except as visual stimuli. All work equally well. So women should learn not to comment on the size of their partner's penis, except favorably, for fear of creating a lasting hang-up, and men should learn not to give it a second thought. As to circumcision and uncircumcision, its implications are religious, not sexual. You may have a preference for one or the other, but it will be entirely aesthetic. Holding your partner's foreskin back with your hand during intercourse works as an accelerator and gives a wonderful sensation.
The act of undressing itself may be part of sex play. Having your clothes removed slowly and lingeringly can be intensely arousing. So can having them torn off in the heat and haste of lust. And this works both ways round. He can undress you, or vice versa. Or you can do a striptease for him, with style and grace. And here again, he can do the same for you. Men are probably more turned on than we are by the whole repertoire of sexy clothes, from silk lingerie to black leather, though many of us have our fancies too. Women in love, unless they happen to have similar turn-ons themselves, can be a bit anxious about all this, feeling that their partner is in love with long gloves or black lingerie and not with them. If your man is sometimes turned on by specific garments, it has nothing to do with how he values you, and he'll love you with more skill and passion if you sense his desire and use it. And if you have similar turn-ons of your own, tell him, and use them together in your love-making. Many men are, quite reasonably, shy about their innermost desires. If your partner seems blocked over this, ask him to give you the thing he would most like to see you wearing when you make love, and wear it. Don't be scared of these games. After a few big orgasms together, most fantasies can be shared. And if a particular one doesn't work, you don't need to repeat it. Making love can well start by undressing each other. This should be done easily, and with a little style, though not necessarily quickly. So, if you find yourself having trouble with zippers and fastenings, practice removing your partner's clothes without clumsiness or hold-ups. A woman doing a striptease is a conventional male turn-on, but your partner might enjoy watching you strip in the same way, sexily, and for her benefit. If so, try and do it without feeling embarrassed and self-conscious, or sending it up. Though men generally get more excited than we do by sexy clothes, many of us have predilections of our own. A well-filled jockstrap or pair of jeans, or a man naked from the waist down are common female turn-ons, and some of us have more individual tastes. Also, luckily for you men, many women find it arousing to wear provocative clothes. So ask your partner what she likes, and tell her what you'd like to see her wearing. Or better still, buy it for her. If it seems sexist or a little outlandish, don't be shy. Symbolic, fetishistic, and generally wild fantasies are all part of love, and a great many people of both sexes have them. Problems only arise if they start taking up too much time, and if they're not fully shared. Although even then, with clothing, as with other fantasies, if the thing itself doesn't turn your partner on as much as it does you, your response probably will.
We males tend to be fairly conventional in our attitude towards sexual or bedroom clothing. Our individual taste may take in anything from virginal white petticoats to shiny leather boots. But our first thought on the matter is generally that sexy clothes are something for the woman to wear and for us to enjoy. Our partner dresses up, possibly in garments we've chosen for her, for our benefit. Although it's for her benefit as well, because the right seductive clothes can get us very excited. There's a lot of truth in this rather knee-jerk male reaction. Generally speaking, women aren't as responsive as we are to these specific and concrete turn-ons. The main turn-on for many women is the social and emotional one of having the right man. And a lot of men who are perfectly at ease with their bodies and unembarrassed about being naked become self-conscious about dressing up or undressing to please their partner. This is a pity, because some women can be very turned on by this, by specific catalysts like a trim bottom under jeans or a pair of well-filled briefs, and by the chance to act out their fantasies in the safety and privacy of the bedroom with dressing up, her and you, as part of the drama. So don't assume you're the only one with preferences. Try asking your partner what she likes. She may fancy seeing you in something specific, a soft leather posing pouch, for example, a particularly brief pair of briefs, even a black mask. She may want to watch you do a striptease. Who knows, you may find yourself surprised by what she wants. To get technical for a moment, clothes and their removal have a whole psychology surrounding them in terms of releasers, a releaser being anything that turns somebody on. Releasers for the male tend to be those female garments that emphasize the breasts and buttocks, that show off cleavage, for instance, or that simplify the outline of the woman. To put it another way, we men, rather predictably and irrespective of our attitudes to women, are commonly aroused by the whole gamut of sexy lingerie, from corsets, which make you hourglass-shaped, to tiny tight G-strings that hide but stress your vulva and suggest wicked, sexy girls rather than chaste sister figures. And so on through the whole repertoire of bras and bustiers, suspenders and stockings. In general, a man likes to see his partner in the bedroom wearing clothes which suggest she's sexually assured and accomplished, that she's going to please and surprise him and take the lead. If these clothes seem to be rather tarty, then you shouldn't feel demeaned by that or undervalued. Quite the reverse. Some men have more specific and unusual tastes. They may like to see their partner wearing garments that you can't buy in your average department store. There are complex reasons, connected perhaps with sexual fantasy, behind the attraction of things like leather or rubber, or garments that suggest submission or mild threat or the aggression of sex. The bedroom is the place to wear these costumes and to act out these dramas. That's one of the things human sex is for.
Some people, usually men, sometimes women, react very strongly and on a highly individual basis to particular clothing. How they become programmed in a given individual isn't known, but there is an identifiable repertoire of components from which most of these stimuli are made. This is the basis of sexual fashion. For example, super skin, tightness, shininess, and texture, super genitalness, firm pubis, space between the thighs, extra pubic hair, mild thread, blackness, leatheriness, sadistic-looking buckles. Womanness, tiny waist, big breasts and buttocks, and so on. Humans love to fool around with the body image and alter it. Another turn-on is textures. Wetness, fur, rubber, plastic, leather. Most males and some females respond slightly to all of these. Some people respond so strongly to a few that they don't hit full sexual function without them, which is a pity. Infantile, symbolic, fetishistic, and generally wild fantasies are part of love. And the only problem is if they start taking up too much time and spoil the full reciprocity of sex. For most people, they don't, and a great many people of both sexes have them. No matter how odd, they can be rewarding, and the sort of clothing I've been talking about makes better anniversary presents than ties or chocolates.
Many of us are turned on by sexy clothes, either seeing our partner in them, wearing them ourselves, or both. The response, especially though not exclusively from men, can be remarkable. So it's worth knowing what your lover likes.
Stockings are a common male turn-on, especially old-style black ones. In quick undressing or actual lovemaking, tights and stockings can get ruined, but if you keep your nails and fingers smooth, taking them off gently makes good foreplay, along with mutual undressing generally. High heels attract some males, partly because they make the woman's legs look longer, also for the effect on the female gait.
G-strings, or posing pouches, can be worn by men or women. A good G-string should tightly cover the genitals and nothing else, and undo from the side, so it can be taken off easily. For women, silk may be the best material, because it holds their perfume and is pleasant to kiss through. For men, perhaps soft leather, which many women find erotic. Boots can be a notorious turn-on. The longer the better. They're good for dressing up games if you like them, but impractical for serious sex, unless you keep them for non-horizontal, non-bed activities. Clothes that cling and emphasize the body are always seductive. The best kind of wet look is achieved with real water. Try showering in a cotton shift. This both looks and feels sexy. Some men regard kissing as something for the start of sex play, before moving on to other, supposedly better things. And it's certainly true that a long, deep kiss can leave both of you aroused, breathless, and ready for more. But it's as you go for more that kisses really come into their own. You can teach your partner to give them to you with his lips, tongue, penis, or eyelashes, placing them anywhere on your body. He can give you a carpet of flowers, covering every inch of your body with small, close kisses, and then you can reply, using lipstick to mark where you've been. And you can both keep up mouth and tongue kissing continuously during intercourse. Many couples prefer face-to-face positions for just this reason. From mouthwork to handwork. For all males, and many of us, sex begins with this, both when we first discover our own bodies and when we start to have access to theirs. But in good mutual sex, masturbation is never superseded. It isn't a substitute for vaginal intercourse, but something quite different, giving a different type of orgasm. Don't let your partner neglect any of your other, less obvious erogenous zones. He may be inclined to overlook your earlobes, navel, or your feet and toes, which can be sucked, tickled, or tied, with very stimulating results. You men can be so set on insertion that you overlook kissing, which is a pity for your partner and for you. So, if you haven't at least kissed her mouth, shoulders, neck, breasts, armpits, fingers, palms, toes, soles, navel, genitals, and earlobes, and if you haven't kissed her with your lips, tongue, glands, and eyelashes, then you haven't really kissed her at all. Like kissing, handwork is not merely a preliminary to intercourse, but a delightful resource in its own right. If you'd like to know how to masturbate your partner really skillfully, you should watch how she does it herself. Clitoral rubbing can be mind-blowing, but make sure that your partner is always well lubricated and that you vary both the movements and the pressure. Ask her which movements she would like to continue. Don't be afraid to allow your partner to guide your hand. Most men think that if they've succeeded once, they know automatically. They're often wrong. For preparation, as well as for orgasm, you can try the flat of the hand on the vulva, with the middle finger between the lips, and its tip moving in and out of the vagina. Keep up a steady rhythm, taking the cue from her hip movements. Alternate with gentle lip stretching, then full strokes on the clitoris and its hood with your finger, putting your thumb deeply in her vagina. Switch to the tongue occasionally if she becomes dry.
There is a danger that we men regard kissing and cuddling and all that stuff as foreplay, with the emphasis on the fore. We see it as an overture, not the main event, whereas for our partner, it's likely to be a pleasure in itself, something to linger over and enjoy. This is a case where, if you want to maximize your own pleasure, you should learn from her rather than the other way round. You might find yourself enjoying some new and unexpected sensations. So take time over kissing. Mouth kisses can range from a mere brush to the kiss à la cannibale, which leaves a bruise and can be put anywhere on the body. And the lips aren't the only thing you can kiss with. Explore each other's non-genital erogenous zones. Breasts, yours as well. Earlobes, navels, even your feet and toes. The big toe has been called the clitoris of the 90s. Handwork can be another source of pleasure. You can try masturbating each other, as well as watching your partner masturbate herself, and letting her watch you. Masturbation can be an intense pleasure in itself, or it can be used as a preparation for full intercourse. However much sex you have, you will still need simple own-hand masturbation, not only during periods of separation, but simply when you feel like another orgasm. Some men feel guilty about this, and so keep it to themselves. It becomes a far more joyful activity if you share it with your partner. Most men like kissing more than you might think. We like the physical contact, the intimacy. We can be turned on by it just as you can. Perhaps the difference is that for you, kissing can sometimes be enough, whereas we tend to see it as a prelude, so we can be disappointed if it doesn't lead to other things. Some of us think of handwork like that too, a preparation, a way for the man to become erect or the woman to be aroused, ready for penetration. Masturbation isn't a substitute for intercourse, but something different and a pleasure in itself. He may like to watch you masturbate, both for the joy of watching and to learn what you like best. And he'll probably like you to masturbate him. If you want to masturbate your partner subtly, unhurriedly, and mercilessly, you need to hold his penis in just the right place, with the right amount of pressure and movement, timing your action to coincide with his feeling, stopping or slowing to keep him in suspense, speeding up to control his climax. Grip him just below the groove with the foreskin back as far as it will go, and use two hands, one near the root holding the penis steady, the other making a thumb and first finger ring or a whole hand grip. Another technique is to roll his penis between your palms like dough, though this is best used for producing an erection rather than an orgasm. Or you can copy his own method of self-masturbation. When you use your own rhythm, this can have a different and more startling effect.
skin is the most important non-genital sex organ, grossly underrated by most men, who tend to concentrate on the penis and clitoris, better understood by women. This is because, generally speaking, men have far less awareness of skin sensitivity than we do. They may enjoy being stroked or massaged, but they tend to see it as something that leads to better things, rather than a primary source of intense erotic pleasure, and so sometimes the very best thing in itself. Even so, with a little time and patience on both sides, you should be able to educate your partner to far greater sensitivity. There are many different kinds of skin stimulation, from pattes d'araignée, literally spider's legs, which uses only the very lightest touch of the fingertips, to a heavier all-over friction rub, which can be done with one of the scented lotions or oils that you can buy for the purpose. As well as hands and fingers, your partner can use his tongue, either covering your entire body in long, slow strokes, or concentrating on one particular area. Something else that drives some women and men out of their minds is a current of air blown onto pre-wetted skin. The best way to do this is to moisten an erogenous area with the tongue and blow on it gently. For larger areas, you could use water or lotion and a hairdryer with the heat turned off. Whatever your partner does for you, make sure he gives you the full, slow treatment and doesn't slip more quickly than you want into oral sex or intercourse. You may think that massage is more for your partner than for you, since, as you may have noticed, women seem to get real satisfaction from skin stimulation, whereas men see it more as a port of call on the way to intercourse. The anticipation that it may lead to other things is certainly part of the pleasure, but don't let it be the whole pleasure. If you don't enjoy the various kinds of massage for the intense erotic feelings they can give in themselves, then you're missing out. But don't worry, you can learn. Try pattes d'araignée, which means spider's legs. This is a tickling massage that uses the lightest possible touch from the fingertips to stimulate not so much the skin itself as the almost invisible skin hairs. Don't use it on the genitals, but on the next most sensitive places: breasts, neck, belly, insides of the thighs, armpits, hollow of the back, and so on. Keep a steady progression of movement going with one hand, while making surprise forays with the other. For other kinds of skin stimulation, you can try using feathers, from stiff wiry ones to an old-fashioned feather duster, or, best of all, your tongue. Blowing gently onto pre-wetted skin produces a sensation that can drive some people crazy. Experiment on a small scale, using your natural resources, saliva and breath. Finally, it's worth knowing that for women, the smell and feel of a man's skin probably has more to do with sexual arousal, or the opposite, than any other single feature.
Skin stimulation is a major component in all sex. The look, feel, and smell of a woman's skin can trigger a whole range of sexual feelings. In some men, these can be boosted by adding other, contrasting textures such as fur, leather, or tight clothing. Even so, generally speaking, women are more skin-sensitive than we are, and so respond more intensely to caresses and massage. This is useful when you want to arouse your partner. If you do it with care and skill, erotic massage is almost bound to drive her wild and generally ends in hand or mouth work. The techniques you can use range from the feather-light touch of pattes d'araignée to a heavier all-over massage with oil or lotion. If you're agile, don't forget that you have toes as well as fingers. To vary the sensation, you can use a vibrator, feathers, your eyelashes, and, best of all, your tongue. Another type of massage that's guaranteed to send her out of her mind is blowing. Quite simply, making a current of air on the pre-wetted skin of any sensitive part of the body, either using your breath and saliva, or, for larger areas, water or lotion and a hair dryer with the heat turned off. For an extra twist, you could tie a couple of feathers with threads to the nozzle of the hair dryer. But never use a strong air source and never blow into the vagina or any other body orifice except the mouth. Finally, this isn't a one-way street. She can do it to you too. If you can relax and enjoy it without hurrying on too quickly to other things, you can achieve the same intensity of feeling as your partner. Most men love the idea of massage. We're turned on by the very thought of it, of caressing our partner all over until driven wild with desire she's ready for anything. Even better is the thought of being massaged ourselves with love and skill. In practice, unfortunately, we can get a little impatient with it, as we can with other kinds of foreplay, which is how we tend to think of massage. It's something that comes before sex, a preliminary to pleasure, rather than a pleasure in itself. This, as most women know, is the wrong way to think of it. So if your partner does see massage as just another pleasant path to penetration, it's up to you to educate him, to teach him that it may lead to intercourse or oral sex, but it may just as well end with you both lying in each other's arms, happy and content with the massage itself. As part of his education, try several different kinds of massage on him, from pat d'araignée, which uses the lightest possible touch from your fingertips, to a full tongue bath, which involves covering his body with long, slow tongue strokes. Start on the back, then turn him over and cover the front, so as to be in the position for hand or mouth work if you both want to go on to that. He almost certainly will. Try skin stimulation with feathers, or by blowing onto his pre-wetted skin. Use saliva. Or you can give him a gentle kneading massage all over using oil or lotion. Concentrate on his chest, buttocks, belly, and neck. Then, when he's getting the hang of it, get him to do it all to you.
If you trawl through the erotic literature of various cultures, Indian, Arabic, Chinese, and so on, you can find over 600 different positions for making love. This is less daunting than it seems, since most of the non-freak postures come naturally, and few of the freak ones merit more than a single visit out of curiosity. Couples tend to start out by trying as many as possible, but inevitably end up with one or two, saving the rest for special occasions. The most popular position of all is the matrimonial, the good old Adam and Eve missionary position, with your partner on top, astride or between your legs, and you underneath facing. It's also, together with the deeper versions, the ideal quick orgasm position for both sexes. The only equally fast position for the woman is astride on top. In fact, the main use of the other 600 postures is to help the man delay his orgasm, while the woman has plenty of time to enjoy or multiply hers. Even so, the matrimonial doesn't suit all of us. Like all other deep or weight-bearing positions, it's a bad idea in pregnancy. And there are some women who come in other postures, but not so often in this one. If you're like this, try another position, especially if the man is overweight. If you want to stick with the matrimonial, 1 or 2 hard pillows under the buttocks may work wonders.
Of the 600, yes, 600 or so positions, most experienced lovers find out the obvious ones through practice and learn which make for quick or slow orgasm and how to use them in series. A few people, either for psychological or anatomical reasons, can only come in 1 or 2, but most of us start by happily running through the whole gamut to find out which give the most pleasure. Then we stick mainly to the few we like. Experiment is essential, But if, after trying the others, we come back to the matrimonial, the so-called missionary position, and we generally do come back to it, this is because it's particularly satisfying and adaptable to mood. The matrimonial is a good starting point for nearly every sequence, second only to the side positions, and it's the most used mutual finishing point for an orgasm. If you do use it to start, you can deepen it by raising your partner's legs. You can stimulate her clitoris by putting one leg between hers. You can move into other positions and then come back to the matrimonial for the finish. It doesn't suit all women. Some have to be sitting or face to face or from behind, finger to clitoris. Some prefer to ride. If you need your partner flat to finish, give her at least one orgasm in her preferred position first, then return to the matrimonial. There are great advantages in ending your lovemaking in a position where you can settle easily into each other's arms.
Endless time has been spent throughout history in describing and giving fancy names to upwards of 600 different postures. In practice, most couples discover the more obvious ones for themselves, without reference to manuals, and then settle on the few that give them the most pleasure. The only shame in this eminently sensible approach is the loss of the names, Arabic, Sanskrit, or Chinese, which have been given across cultures and down centuries. You should be able to tell in advance which postures work in particular situations, such as pregnancy, large man with small woman, height differences, and so on. But only by active experimentation will you discover which work best for orgasm, for you and your partner. Some of the really wild fantasies in Oriental manuscripts do have a point. The girl astride in Mogul pictures, who's balancing lighted lamps or shooting at a target with a bow, is only showing that she can bring the man off with her vaginal muscles, while keeping the rest of her still. Others are mystical or merely gymnastic. Every culture has its own fads about best positions, but of all the postures, there's little doubt that the matrimonial or missionary position, a name given to it by amused Polynesians who preferred squatting intercourse, can be the most versatile, satisfying, and in many ways most loving position in the entire sexual lexicon.
Variety is vital in lovemaking. But don't try to do everything every time. At least 75% of really rewarding sex will be in your absolutely straight bedtime or morning pattern. For longer sessions, you need to be rested and relaxed. So you'll probably have them at weekends, on holidays and special occasions, and of course, sometimes on impulse. Prolonged sessions involving make-believe, experiments, and so on, often go best on waking fresh. So do positions for which your partner needs a very hard erection. Inversion is head-down intercourse, which, besides giving you a different point of view, can also give different sensations. Your partner sits on a chair or a stool, and you sit astride, facing, taking him inside you. Then lie back slowly until your head rests on a cushion on the floor. Or you can lie backwards over the edge of the bed, face up, while he enters you. Alternatively, he can lie back and you can ride him. The X position is perfect for prolonged, slow intercourse, giving you plenty of time for orgasm. Start by sitting astride, facing your partner, with his penis deep inside you. Then lie right back until you're both between each other's wide-open legs and clasp hands. Slow, coordinated wriggling movements will keep him erect and should keep you close to orgasm for long periods. To switch back to other positions, you can both sit up without disconnecting. You won't have amazingly adventurous sex every time you make love. No one would want that. But if you make up your mind that over time you'll try everything you both want to try, positions, venues, games, whatever, the occasions will arise. Planning and thinking about sex is part of love. So plan together, with this disc if you like, so that you don't miss out on things you're both keen on. Making love at different times of day is well worthwhile, but it depends on your commitments and how far you can get privacy and clear your mind of other things. Try never to put it off if you both want it, except to save up for something. Inversion means taking your partner with her head down. You can do this on a chair, a stool, or the bed. You enter her. She flops back slowly. Or she can lie face up or down and raise her hips. You stand between her legs and penetrate her, while she rests on her elbows, or, for the wheelbarrow, walks on her hands. For postillonnage, if your partner likes it, put your finger in or on your partner's anus just before orgasm. It drives some women wild, though others prefer firm finger pressure just in front of the anus. Some women greet orgasm with yells, convulsions, laughter, or sobbing, or any number of other reactions. By contrast, others simply shut their eyes, but they enjoy it no less.
Varied and exciting lovemaking must be built on a basic diet of steady night and morning matrimonial intercourse. For longer sessions, start perhaps with vaginal sex in whatever postures or sequences you fancy. Move on to handwork. Use mouthwork to give him a further erection. Then, if you want, have a final orgasm by masturbating together. Unlike a man, an untired and responsive woman can afford to take orgasms from any source and in any order, unless her pattern is one of overwhelming orgasm only. If so, keep it for last. If you try inversion or head-down sex, remember that with orgasm, the buildup of pressure in the veins of the face and neck can produce startling sensations, so don't try this if you have high blood pressure, though it should be safe enough if you're young and fit. Postillonnage involves your partner putting his finger in or on your anus just before orgasm. It's popular in French erotic books, and it works on some women. Little Death, or La Petite Mort of French poetry, is aptly named. Some women do indeed pass out on orgasm. It's not unpleasant for the woman, but it can scare an experienced man cold. If this happens to you, tell your partner in advance there's no cause for alarm any more than over any other response to orgasm. You may be loud and hysterical or passive and quiet. It's how he makes you feel that counts, not how much sound and fury he can generate.
When you are using this disc outside the menu, there are always 4 invisible choices, available when you point at the edges of the screen. Point at the top of the screen, and you will be offered the chance to go to the menu. If you then press an action button while the menu is showing, you will be taken directly to the main menu. If you don't want to go to the menu, then move away from the edge without pressing an action button, and the menu offer will disappear. Point at the left of the screen, and you will be offered the chance to restart whatever you are looking at. Press an action button to confirm, or move away from the edge. When you select Restart, you will also automatically make a mark, which will be stored in the bookmark section. Point at the right of the screen, and you will be offered a chance to skip on to the end of the current item. Point at the bottom of the screen, and you will be offered some ideas and suggestions to look at elsewhere on the disc. Just choose whatever interests you. Press an action button without pointing at one of the edges, and you will pause whatever is playing at that moment. If you press an action button again, it will continue playing. Or you can choose Menu, Restart, and so on by pointing at the edges of the screen. Finally, if you are listening to somebody speaking over a menu, you can interrupt them at any time by pressing an action button. And remember, to make a mark for bookmark, just select Restart.